For 9:15, well, let's focus on health and science now. Today, we're discussing sexual and reproductive health. We start with this. The European Medicines Agency has approved the Vaginal Ring for HIV prevention for women in non-EU countries with high disease burdens. Now, the antiretroviral drug dapivirine is released from the ring into the vagina slowly over 1 month. This paves the way for the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority to register it for local use. Let's discuss this now with Dr. Zeda Rosenberg. She's CEO of the International Partnership for Microbicides. Dr. Rosenberg, a very good morning, and thanks so much for your time this morning. So we've got this news because this vaginal ring has been approved, like we say, by the European Meds Agency. What is the significance? Why is this approval so significant for us, especially here in South Africa, for women here?
Well, thank you very much for having me. This is really a landmark milestone for the dapivirine ring, which has been in development for a very long time. And the EMA opinion, the positive scientific opinion, paves the way for IPM, the organization that developed the ring, to be able to submit for approvals in African countries where HIV incidence is the highest, and it allows for the World Health Organization, which was working in collaboration with EMA, to develop guidelines for its use, as well as to pre-qualify the ring, which is very important and a very important step for country regulatory authorities in Africa.
All right, so now that it has this approval, I mean, how soon or how quickly can we expect it to be available for use by women here?
Well, the next steps are to have the WHO work with their committee for guidelines and for pre-qualification, which should occur within the next 6 months. And so the EMA opinion was a first necessary step. And in parallel, IPM will be submitting regulatory applications to many African countries over the next several months, and hopefully there will be an approval by first quarter, second quarter of next year. But we need these approvals from the African countries before the ring can be available to women.
All right, so let's talk practicality now. Let's talk about how this actually works. Give us an idea of how this will work, how this will protect women.
Sure. The ring contains this drug dapivirine, which is an antiretroviral drug that releases into the vaginal tissue where it can block HIV infection. And so in the phase 3 trials, it was shown that the incidence of infection was reduced by approximately 35%, which may seem quite modest, but it is part of the fact that in phase 3 clinical trials, there are many women who do not use the product at all, as well as women who use it very well, as well as women who use it inconsistently. So this 35% number is an average over all of the women in the trial. And so we believe that if women choose to use the ring once it's approved and they use it consistently, it could have a higher protective effect.
All right, so is this, does this ring need to be inserted by a doctor, by a gynecologist? Is it something that a woman will take home and insert herself?
The woman can insert it herself and remove it herself, and it goes into the vagina for 1 month at a time, and then it is removed by the woman.
All right, so it needs to be replaced every month. So you would have to have sort of 12 for the year if you were going to be using it. All right, so how would it work, Doc? I mean, how would the distribution of this work? Is it meant to be given out freely at clinics to women in areas where we know, they're more susceptible or more at risk as well? Or is it going to be cost effective? Is it something that you're going to have to charge women for?
The IPM is a nonprofit organization, and we are supported by donors around the world, country governments, and the goal is to make the ring as inexpensively as possible and to have it be low or no cost for women who need it the most.
In terms of side effects, are there any side effects we should be aware of?
Because the ring delivers the product locally in the vaginal tissue, it has a very low rate of absorption into the body, and so there are very few systemic effects. In fact, there are no systemic effects that have been found. And locally, the safety profile has been excellent. And through all of the trials, both the phase 3 trials and for the studies, the open label extension studies that were done as follow-on studies.
And what are the cautions around this, Dr. Rosenberg? I mean, just because a woman might insert this vaginal ring, it obviously doesn't mean that you can go out and have unprotected sex now.
That is correct. So as with oral PrEP, condoms should be used when they can be used. That's very important because we know how effective condoms are. And a woman should not be HIV infected when she is using the product because it is for protection. And so therefore she will need a HIV test every 3 months, the same as oral PrEP.
All right, and this obviously, yes, it's meant to protect a woman from contracting HIV. You've also got to think about your partner if you are HIV positive, so that would make sense that it's not a contraceptive in that way.
That's correct. That is correct.
All right, well, we look forward to having this here in South Africa, I suppose, and you know, making it available to women who so desperately need this and need to take matters literally into their own hands. Thanks very much, Dr. Zeda Rosenberg. Well,